It is April 2nd, 2017, and welcome to News Effect. This is a Flicker Effect podcast where each week we discuss the top 5 news items of the week from the world of film, television, and pop culture. I'm David Lott. Joining me as always are Bobby Jackson and Michelle Curry. How's it going, guys?
Hey, how's
What
everything?
up?
Hello.
What's up, Bobby? Calling from WonderCon.
Yeah, man.
I am. It was a busy weekend. There was a lot of stuff going on at WonderCon this year. It seems like it's getting bigger and bigger. I know Saturday and Sunday were sold out this year, and Friday was pretty busy. I didn't get to go on Friday, but Yasha did, and he said it was pretty busy. So this is probably the busiest I've seen it. It definitely was full. And as me and Yasha were talking about it, it was like, man, I don't know how they could even possibly entertain the idea of moving San Diego Comic-Con here, because that's even bigger, and there's just not enough. I wouldn't say there's not enough space in the convention center, but there's not enough space outside the convention center. It's like there's not enough areas for people to go and hang out or to kind of be nearby the convention center and still doing things. It's just not set up that way. So it would be really weird if they even tried to entertain the idea of moving it here to Anaheim. The space wise in the convention center, I think, could support it, but just not enough to do outside of it for all the different people that like to come in and experience other things outside of the convention center. I don't think you would have the same sort of setup. But I did a lot. I did get to see at least one panel that was movie related stuff, which was the Warner Brothers panel, and they pretty much made it centric to, well, two things. One was Annabelle movie that they have coming out. I think it's like a prequel to the first Annabelle movie. It's sort of the origin story of the doll.
Right.
And then the other one was Wonder Woman, and they had Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins come out and introduce some clips from the movie, some of which were in the trailer, but just there was an extended look. And I gotta say, from what I saw, it looks really, really good, especially the action. It looks like it's definitely going to live up to being true to that character, at least within the spirit of the character, if not totally to the letter of the law in terms of her origin story. But it looks really good, and it just got me excited even more so than I had already been for it. And I really am starting to have faith that this is going to be the movie to turn it around for DC. So fingers crossed, but it definitely looks really good.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for that film. Oh.
Oh, I know, Michelle.
So
We know you're excited.
Well, real quick before we get to the news, just an announcement. There won't be a featured review episode this week, an episode 210. That'll be delayed a week. So we were planning on reviewing Ghost in the Shell, but unfortunately that's not happening. So just a heads up to everyone listening, News Effect will be the only thing released this week. And yeah, with that, Bobby, what are our top 5 news items of the week?
Top 5.
Top 5. Okay, let's start it off with number 5. And we got a couple of brand new trailers this week for huge franchises. The first one was from Sony for Spider-Man Homecoming, and another from 20th Century Fox for War of the Planet of the Apes. Did those trailers show too much, or did they just show enough to really get you interested? Your mileage may vary on those two aspects, but from what I can say is that I don't feel like I need to see any more trailers for either of those films at this point. Number 4. The Force may be strong in Orlando if the rumors are true, and a standalone Obi-Wan film gets announced. I, for one, will be happier than a Tusken Raider shooting at passing pod racers or trespassing Skywalkers if the news is announced. So I'm looking out for that, and that will be the main thing I'm trying to find out about at Orlando Star Wars Celebration this year. Number 3, Jordan Peele jumping from horror movies to science fiction. Well, if Warner Brothers has its way, that's what will happen, as they are eyeing the director for the long-in-development live-action adaptation of Akira. Sources say the ball is in Peele's court if he wants to begin negotiations. Number 2, I wouldn't have ever guessed if someone told me that the most anticipated movie of 2017 would be a horror film, and that horror film being It. And that's, of course, if trailer watching views are to be believed, because apparently it has broken the record that was once held by the Fast and the Furious, and now the It trailer has been watched more than 197 million times in 24 hours. I was very surprised by this news, so I am very curious to see what our panel of guests, or I should say our regular panel says about this movie, because I don't know how you guys feel about it. So I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are. And the number one story of the week is that Joss Whedon may be directing a Batgirl solo film based off of the Gail Simone run of the New 52, which was more of a hard-edged story for the character, as she returned as a return of form from her being Oracle into Batgirl once again. So obviously the big news there is that it's Joss Whedon, and he's directing a film that has a girl at the centerpiece that has powers. So, well, in this case, she doesn't have powers, but she is very remarkable and a strong-willed individual and part of the Bat family. So it will be very interesting to see how that all pans out. Right now, it's just rumor. Joss Whedon hasn't confirmed anything, but the hope is there, and the internet is got its fingers crossed collectively and are hoping for the best for this news and that everything works out fine. And that's the news in effect for this week. Back to you, David.
Back to me.
Back to you.
Back to the studio.
Back to you in Orlando.
That's right.
All right.
What catches your eye out of those 5 stories?
What catches my eye? Where to begin?
There's a lot there.
Well, how do you not say if one thing catches my eye over others? It's number one easily. Joss possibly sounding like he's going to direct Batgirl. Who was it that broke that? Was it Variety or Hollywood Reporter? I think.
I believe I want to give correct source. So let me get back to you. I don't want to misquote who the source was on that, but continue with your. But thoughts.
It was. I know it was one of those two. It was a reputable source. This isn't like
Absolutely.
Joe Schmo blog is breaking. Right. You know, I mean it's big
Super
enough
credible.
that there's a lot of news outlets that I've been reading about it. They're basically reporting it like this is happening. Like everyone feels almost comfortable enough saying it's not a done deal, but this is going down. So it's pretty amazing. How do you not get excited about Joss Whedon directing? I mean, unless you just hate Batgirl, but you know, how do you not get excited about him directing a female superhero film? And for me, as a Batman fan, I mean, I'll fully admit it's not like I've read Batgirl comics. I mean, I know who she is. I'm familiar with her, but I'm not a huge Batgirl fan or anything. Nothing against the character, just it's not something I've really followed. But still, I mean, the idea of him directing a Batgirl movie, holy shit, like, could easily be the best DC film we've seen yet. I mean,
yeah,
I totally agree. I know what I guess common knowledge is of Batgirl, but I never read any of the comics, especially like this one that Bobby was saying that it would be based off of something so fresh and new, like zero background on it. But yeah, Joss Whedon directing a movie on a DC character, it's awesome. Like it's funny because it's like I feel like this has been like his week this week is between Buffy turning 20. I feel like I've seen him everywhere talking about it. And then this comes out this week too, and so it's just been like, man, Joss is the man this week. He's on fire. It's exciting because I think he's really good at, you know, strong female roles, and I mean, it's Joss. Like it's so good. Like I can't. It's really good news, and I'm glad that it seems very like this is what's happening. This is going forward.
And for him to want to come back to do a superhero film tells us, at least it seems like that must mean he really wants to do this. Like,
you know,
it seemed like after Ultron, he was ready to step away for a bit, and understandably, this sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah, totally agree.
Easily a number one for the week.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think what makes it kind of cool is that it's one of those things where I feel like Joss left his stamp on Marvel by directing the Avengers and really kind of elevating their whole franchises into a different level because of the fact that it was the first time we saw all of them together. And so it really helped create and set a template of what was possible over at Marvel after they really were able to knock it out of the park with the Avengers. And so if he can do the same with Batgirl over at DC, it will really help to paint a different picture over there and maybe be the jump start that they need if it doesn't come along with Wonder Woman or possibly with Justice League. I, for one, do think that once we get Wonder Woman, this will really be the start of it, and we'll start to really hopefully get a continuous streak of good, if not great, films from DC. And by the time we get to wherever they decide to place Batgirl on the slate, if it ever happens, that will be in that sort of phase where things are kind of clicking on all cylinders the same way they are over at Marvel. So this is all around good news for everybody, I believe.
Yep, I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
As for anything else, you brought up the Obi-Wan rumor with us earlier in the week. And as the four of us just talked to each other. And I fully admit I haven't read anything like news articles about this. All I know is basically what you just said, that it might possibly get announced at Celebration in a couple weeks. And I've said before, like when it comes to the Han Solo spinoff, I'm not like big on the whole idea of a backstory for Han Solo. And as a spinoff movie, I don't really care. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see somebody else play the character. It just doesn't interest me really at all. Of course, I'm going to see it. Of course, the movie will probably end up being amazing, and I'll be the one on here going, I was an idiot, guys. This was the best Star Wars movie ever or something. That'll probably happen, right? But still, that's how I feel about it. But when it comes to Obi-Wan, I'll say, like, I could definitely dig an Obi-Wan film, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think because, for one, it sounds like Ewan McGregor would probably play the role.
Yeah.
And he's already played Obi-Wan. And
right.
So it's not like a completely different guy doing it, and it would be interesting. I don't know what the theory is on like when time-wise this would take place, but it would be interesting to see Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan that kind of helps bridge that gap still between him and Guinness.
Yeah.
That makes him almost look more and more like the older Obi-Wan. It would be kind of cool to and just to see more, some story from that time period. I guess basically like what you were just talking about in Star Wars Rebels, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's the idea from what I've heard, is that it would be rumored to take place between Revenge of the Sith and Episode 4.
Right.
So right in that time period when he's secluded himself to Tatooine and is looking after Luke as a young child. So it would be interesting. And I know that there are comic books that are canon that have a couple of issues where Obi-Wan is on the desert and he gets into a little bit of a scuffle with some people on the planet. I don't know in terms of how far into the story it goes as far as why he got into this fight with these people, if they knew about Luke or if they were just someone that crossed his path and he just got into it with. But there's definitely stories that exist already that are canon that show him being active while he's on Tatooine and not just in some cave somewhere, just chilling for the next 15 years or whatever. So he at least shows him doing different things. And so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with as a story. And they did say it would just be one standalone film. It wouldn't be like a trilogy of Obi-Wan films. Right. It would just be one film. Mm-hmm. So that would be really cool as well, knowing that they're not trying to kind of milk it and bring out more of these just because, and just trying to really, as you said, sort of bridge that gap that's there and just kind of close it off. I think that would be really cool.
I agree. I would be down with that for sure. Michelle, any thoughts?
I mean, I don't have any like earth-shaking thoughts on this because I think it would be kind of neat to see it. And yeah, I think it'd be neat to see that time space that encapsulates, what's going on with him in his life. And but at the same time, like, how interesting could it possibly be at the same time? Like, this is a time where he's kind of pulled away. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
It
Like,
could be anything.
does he get pulled off Tatooine for a weird like
Could be.
time frame, and like it shows like the movie starts with him like being like, Luke, just don't do anything crazy, like like a 10-year-old Luke going, look, don't be crazy, don't do anything nuts, and I got to go somewhere for a while, so I'll be back.
We can't do that.
Well, that won't happen because that'd be completely against canon.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird. I don't know. It's Star Wars, so I'm in. But
Well, I think you have to figure, Michelle, at this point, Luke might be, well, depending on when they make it take place, but Luke could be somewhere around 10 or 8 years old, and so that would still leave the character to be relatively young still. So he could have gone off planet and did something as a mission or something where he was needed,
Right.
or Tatooine's a big enough planet that something could still happen somewhere else on the planet that causes attention. But and that's the beauty of it. They have room to play, and without it crushing up against what we know as canon. So I think that'll be the interesting part, is seeing what story they kind of break for this to make it fit within canon without crossing over into anything and making it something that doesn't fit. Same way they had to essentially do for Rogue One. So I think that turned out well. So I think this would be something interesting also with whatever they decide to do with it.
crazy old Uncle Ben.
So there was one story in there that I mentioned when I was doing the rundown of the news, which was the story about It. Like, I really did not expect the next day to hear that it broke the record for views. I mean, I figure this is a movie that is a horror movie, which most horror movies in general, I wouldn't say are necessarily niche, but they don't necessarily lend themselves to breaking records in terms of how many people are anticipating something. So to hear that it broke the Fast and Furious record for most views in 24 hours was pretty shocking. So I was like, I know it's on my radar because I'm looking forward to it. And I wanted to check out the trailer because this was finally the first little piece that we get to see. But I just didn't guess that everyone else was looking forward to it in the same sort of way. So I don't know. What about you guys? Did you see the trailer and did you enjoy it, or does it make you look forward to it more? Michelle? I was going to.
No,
I just wanted to say quickly, like, not without commenting on the movie, but I will say when it comes to the numbers, it really makes me wonder when we keep hearing these trailer view numbers, like what is this really based on? Because, for instance, I know, like, when I go and decide, hey, I want to watch a trailer right now on the internet, I mean, there are multiple sources I could watch it from. I mean, sure, there's the studio who puts it out officially, but then there are tons of other sources who then take the trailer and post it on their own YouTube channels and then other websites.
Yeah.
And so part of me, I mean, when you wrote this earlier in the week and kind of tipped us off to this, like, I was just like, this, I mean, I get it. It's popular, and I'm not surprised it's got a lot of views, but it really makes me wonder, like, but is it really a record breaker here? Like, compared to the actual views by humans to the other trailers? I don't know. I find that hard to believe. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making sense.
Yeah.
I think they get it from YouTube, but I could be wrong. But it seems like it's the most place that would be as a source for people other than Facebook. But I imagine YouTube, since you don't have to have an account to go see things on YouTube, it's probably the place that they go for in terms of getting these stats. I've never, as you said, seen anywhere literally cite that this is from YouTube or from wherever, but that's just my guess at it, though.
And I agree with you. I'm guessing it is from YouTube, but even within YouTube, I mean, there's probably 100 different trailer videos out there, and are they collecting all of them and taking the view numbers off of every one and then, like, putting that together, or are they just going, well, this is the official drop, so we're pulling it from
from the studio,
whatever the studio's.
I gotta figure it's not that. I gotta figure it's from anything that's sourced as that trailer, because you have to think, if there was an official one, like, what if someone that's I don't know, in Germany wanted to see the trailer, do they just turn on subtitles and it'll play for them, or
Yeah, I don't
is
know.
there a international version and they can click on that? So I'm thinking it's just from different sources that have the video as a trailer, and it just all gets accumulated. But
Right.
again, it's just a guessing game.
But sorry, Michelle, I cut you off. You were.
No, I was gonna say that I feel that the numbers are it's surprising. This is a very high number for, as Bobby said, like it's a horror film, and horror films are kind of a niche thing. And yeah, I mean, I will say that I know for like our generation, it was one of a few like starter horror films for a lot of kids, and it really messed up a lot of kids too. And so I'm sure that everybody's really curious to see like what this remake is going to do, but I have a hard time believing that that's that many. Like it's crazy to me. Like, really? Like that many people wanted to see this? Like, no, really? Like,
Because what were the numbers that did you have that when in your write up, Bobby? How many?
Yeah, it was 197 million.
Okay.
right. And like the question is this number taken like the moment? Is this taken after, say, 10 minutes of playtime on the actual video? Like, is there a time frame on this? Or is this just because, the videos will just play automatically. Like, you go on YouTube, you watch a trailer, another trailer will queue right back up. And so it's like, oh, does the count start,
Right.
like
Yeah, I get what you're
into the trailer? Like, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does it actually start like 10, 15 seconds into the trailer or 30 seconds into the trailer to make sure people are actually watching it? Or is it just, nope, it came up on a screen. That's the count. Boom. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, yeah. Long story short, it does seem like when we keep hearing these things about trailer view numbers, it doesn't seem as an exact science as like box office numbers.
right,
you know?
exactly.
Sorry.
It just
All I
makes
would
me
say-
question. I mean, if it's all legit, like that's mind blowing.
Yeah,
it's
I don't
really,
think there is
holy
anybody.
cow.
I can't imagine anybody could have predicted that this would be.
Right.
I mean, anyone in hindsight can
Exactly.
go, well, yeah, it's big. Like, yeah, but there's no fucking way before
sure
this trailer dropped that anyone in their right mind would have been like, man, this is going to break trailer records right here.
Right.
Screw Star Wars,
Yeah.
screw Twilight, screw all that other stuff. Like
Right.
this, it.
like,
Really?
the studio that like is in the office going,
What?
really? I mean,
Yeah.
we're excited for it, but damn. Okay.
Because, yeah, I brought up
Yeah.
the Warner Brothers Pictures YouTube version of the trailer, and it's at 20 million views. But
See,
Yeah.
so that's
so
only
that
a
makes-
small clip of the apparent viewership.
yeah.
I don't know. And when it comes to it, for me, it's been a long time since I've watched
Oh
it.
my gosh, yeah.
A long time. So I would almost say that watching it now would be almost like watching it for the first time. It's been that long. But I do
I would
have
agree.
good memories of it, and mostly just of Tim Curry as Pennywise. That's kind of
Right.
all I think about. When it comes to the actual storyline, I honestly don't even remember like what's happening.
I
And-
don't think I could tell you at all either.
So, I mean, and so when it comes to this movie and watching the trailer, I have to say I was like, I mean, sure, I'll go see it for sure, but I'm not exactly like clamoring for this. Like, I don't know. It wasn't a horror movie trailer that really caught my attention. It just felt like it didn't feel like something unique enough for me to be like, all right, this is a horror movie I definitely have to check out. You know what I mean?
Right, like I'm gonna see it not because I'm like this horror movie looks amazing. It's more like I'm curious to see what they're doing with the new take on
Right.
Pennywise and what the storyline actually is. It's actually not that I'm super interested in this horror story. I'm so interested in the remake of this horror story.
Yeah, because if
what
this
it
had
is.
been titled something else and this wasn't it, and I'd watched that trailer just randomly, you know what I mean? Like, if I
Right.
didn't know it was affiliated with a Stephen King book, or whatever, I probably would have been like, okay, it looks like it's a well-made movie and it looks
Right.
interesting, but I wouldn't have been like, oh my god.
yeah.
That's my take on the new It, basically.
I mean,
I guess. Go ahead,
I
Michelle.
was just gonna say it does look good. Like in watching it, I was like, wow, yeah, that would freak me out. Like, so that's all I was gonna say.
No, I was just going to say that I did remember reading the book back in the day and seeing the TV series that came on, the miniseries. And I guess I kind of can fall in the same boat as you guys. I can't remember the specific details of everything, but I do remember enjoying the hell out of it as a series, as a mini series on TV, and enjoying the book. It's pretty thick and dense, but I'm looking forward to it for the same reasons as you guys, as in the sense of just seeing what Pennywise looks like, or the how updated this version is, and how he acts and everything else. And for what you might say for the trailer, I don't think, well, at least for myself, I can't deny that that poster is pretty badass. I thought it was really cool looking. If you guys ever, I don't know if you had a chance to check out the poster, but it has this look about it where it's dark in the background and you just see the kid, and he's facing towards this red balloon. And if you look closer, if you look into the red balloon, you can actually see Pennywise's face behind the balloon. It's creepy as hell, but it's very effective. I thought it was really cool. One of the more memorable posters I've seen this year.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't. I thought maybe you were just referring to that still I keep seeing, from the trailer of the red balloon and.
Oh, no, there's an actual poster of it,
Right.
sort of like that. But yeah, it's pretty effective. I guess the last thing that really caught my attention from this week was the trailers for Spider-Man and for Planet of the Apes. And I don't know if you guys, or how you felt about the trailers in general, but beyond how you felt about the trailers, did you feel like, regardless of how you felt, that they showed too much in those trailers?
I mean, I don't feel like that they showed too much. Well, maybe the Planet of the Apes one a little bit, but like, I will say, especially like, and I enjoyed the Spider-Man one, but yeah, like I'm good. Like I don't need to see any more trailers. Like I think if they were to release one more before it comes, like I don't need to see any more footage of this film. Like I feel like they've sold it. Everybody's in. Just don't bring anything new to the table at this point, because then they will be, putting too much out there, I think. But I enjoyed it, and yeah, the Planet of the Apes one maybe a little bit too much. And again, yeah, they need to. It's good. We're good. It's happening. We're interested. Like keep the footage for the film. That'd be great. Yeah. No, I think they need to kind of tone it down a little bit, and yeah, even, and as I say, I'm sure that they'll still put out new trailers. I'm not going to watch them because I don't need to. I'm sold on these films already, and what I see is great, but I don't need to see more.
I will say, I guess with the Planet of the Apes trailer, I did kind of have that feeling as I finished watching it, like, oh wow, I feel like maybe I saw a little too much. To answer your question, Bobby, with the Spider-Man trailer, I didn't think that at all, really. I mean, I agree I don't need to see any more. I'm good. Of course, I'm good with Spider-Man. The thing that piques my interest about Spider-Man when it comes to the trailer versus the movie we end up seeing is I'm really curious to see how the movie is in terms of tone compared to the trailers we've seen. More so, I should say, the trailer like we just saw compared to like the little bit of footage and vibe we were talked about back at Comic-Con, which was because you watched this trailer and I got no sense of what we were kind of told in terms of a vibe back at Comic-Con, which was this is basically going to be almost like a John Hughes like 80s kind of film. And all that footage we were shown at Comic-Con was all like high school stuff, like all him in high school, and everyone loved it. I loved it. And it was almost no Spider-Man as well.
You know why though, right? Or do you remember why they said that was the case?
I don't know. Probably because of filming. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was pretty early in the filming, and they
that's what I assumed,
had actually much done for Spider-Man, so that's why we got a lot of the high school stuff.
So yeah, I get that. Also, that's why we got a lot of the high school stuff. But they also went out of their way to say, "Hey, this is how the film's going to be." By the way,
yeah.
So, and then you watch this trailer that we just got, and you get no sense of that really. So I'm curious to see. Like, I have a feeling there's going to be so much more to the Spider-Man movie than that this trailer dropped. I didn't really get that feeling from this Spider-Man trailer.
I don't, like I said, I don't feel like with this one they showed too much. I think they showed just enough,
right.
And I'm good.
No, and I agree with you there,
I don't need to see any more. But like, I felt like watching that Planet of the Apes one was kind of like, okay, yeah, we're good.
But that Planet of the Apes trailer, like again, man, I mean, I'm watching it on a big screen when I watched it, and I'm like, God damn, those apes look fucking incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it is ridiculous how good they look.
It's crazy.
I don't know if they won an award for any of the Apes movies
I
for
know they were
the special
nominated.
effects. Yeah, but it, something maybe comes out every year that tops it in some sort of way. But you got to figure at least one of these years it's got to take that Oscar for best special effects because, like David said, those apes are just so
Oh my
impressive in
god.
terms of the
They
way they
are,
look
dude.
and move
It,
and just everything about it is impressive. And I fear that people are so used to it now that they just take it for granted and don't really appreciate the work that's going into making it look so realistic. They're just taking it on face value at this point because they're so used to it looking so good. But I would hope that eventually at some point it would win for best visual effects because it is outstanding the way they make them look and just so many of them. And to bring that emotion to those characters as well. And it's all just CG it's just incredible.
Yeah, totally agree. Um, and yeah, I know we've already gone on a little long, but this is the only show we're recording. So, real quick, I
Yeah.
know, yeah, the Akira thing. Uh, I mean, it's been a while since I've watched Akira. Of course, like I think of an Akira director, and he's definitely not the first person that would pop up into my mind. It definitely seems like an odd choice. But what do I know about his background in terms of anime? You know, maybe he is a diehard anime fan and he's perfect for this. I don't
Right.
know. Like, but you know, Get Out was good. I liked Get Out a lot, and you know, he's proven himself as a director with that. But I can't help but feel like, hey, just because he was a good director with a passion project of his, you know, will he be a good director of something like Akira? Like, I don't know.
It's hard to say.
yeah.
We've
It's
been
hard to
getting a
say.
lot of directors that have been coming from small things, jumping onto big things, and having some pretty decent success. I mean, what we had Edwards with um, his first movie he did. What was that? Monsters, I want to say, and then he went on to do Godzilla, and then what after that was Rogue One. So
Right.
that's not a bad little trajectory for him. And then um, I guess something similar for uh, Colin Trevorrow for his first movie that he did, and then jumped to Jurassic World, and then now he's doing a Star Wars movie as well. So there's been definitely some cases lately of people who have started small and jumped right into a pretty big budgeted film and done pretty well. So
Yeah.
it will be interesting to see what he's got in terms of if he has the range and the ability to jump into this next role because I remember reading somewhere where he said that he actually wanted to stay focused on these types of films that he did with Get
Mm-hmm.
Out, with
Right.
sort of like a black social commentary on race and with that horror sort of bend to it. And I don't know, maybe like you said, maybe he is a fan of Akira and the idea never crossed his mind. So now that it's been presented to him, maybe it's something that even though he had an idea of where he wanted to go next, maybe this is enticing to him to make him really want to do it. Or maybe he feels like he's not ready and he wants to do a little bit more before he gets to that that scope and size because maybe he knows he might not be ready for that. And that's happened as well with some of these directors that have been put on to a big film right after doing something small. So I guess time will tell. But I know that I have never seen Akira, so I really don't have any specific level of excitement for a live action version of it, other than to say that it seems like it's a property that a lot of people love and really will attest to and tell people to check out if they've never watched an anime before and are kind of interested in the genre to check that one out. So it would be interesting to see where that level of excitement will come in if they make it into live action and how they'll go about it. And maybe it'll be this sort of thing where once I see it, visualize live action, that will get me excited for it. But at this point, it's just kind of like, oh, it's cool. It's cool that maybe they can finally get this project off the ground that they've been kind of trying to develop for at least, it seems like at least a decade or so.
Yeah, it's
But
been a while.
um, Yeah, so it'll be kind of cool to see if they can finally get it off the ground, and hopefully it'll have more success than the latest Japanese anime that got translated into live action.
Hopefully. Yeah, it didn't.
Yeah,
It didn't do so hot in the box office.
no,
No. That's surprising.
Did you see it? But I mean, not that we're going to talk about it right now. But did you see Ghost in the Shell, Bobby?
I did not, but
Okay.
Yasha did.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm sure he'll give his thoughts on it next week. He kind of shared them with me a little bit, but yeah, I'm sure he'll give his thoughts next week on it. But I didn't get a chance to see it. I kind of was going to see it, but I think um I think some of my anticipation and excitement for it waned a little bit after seeing some of the reviews, which weren't bad, but they were more or less mixed. And so then I was just like, well, maybe I'll watch it if I get a chance this week. And if I don't see it this week, I'll probably watch it next week. But yeah, I think some of that excitement has waned a little bit. So we'll see.
Well, and your party ended up in WonderCon, so I mean, you know,
Yeah,
priorities.
exactly.
Well, then we'll wrap things up with the box office numbers since you made the segue. We'll go backwards. At number 5 was Kong Skull Island in its 4th weekend release with 8.8 million. Number 4, Power Rangers, and its 2nd week took a little bit of a drop to 14.5 million. Ghost in the Shell that we were just talking about was at number 3 with 19 million. Beauty and the Beast dropped out of number 1 finally in its 3rd week, and that was at 48 million. And number 1 taking the crown, The Boss Baby at 49 million. So it was really
I never would have guessed it was going to make that much money. Honestly,
yeah. I
I
mean,
thought
sure. I think we all know, like, hey, man, animated movies, they make money. They
right.
just do.
Right.
But I agree with you. Like, I didn't feel like there was even any somewhat of like even an inkling of hype about The Boss Baby. Like, I barely even knew it was coming out. You know.
Right. But I mean, like, even for next week, though, I mean, the drop off for next weekend for it's going to be pretty gigantic if you think about that. I mean,
Yeah, I would think so. But I mean,
yeah.
but yeah, part of me is like, oh, that kind of hurts that the movie that finally knocked Beauty and the Beast out of number 1 is The Boss Baby. I mean, not that I've seen The Boss
Right.
Baby. God, it looks terrible.
Right.
Oh, it looks horrible. I mean,
You know?
I'm not saying like, oh, like I'm weird on kids movies, but as a kids movie, it looks horrible. Like,
Right.
as a children family friendly film, it looks absolutely
It
horrible.
just looks bad.
Bad.
Well, it looks like it's one of those movies that's not necessarily parent friendly. It just looks like it's really super kid friendly, like 5 to 8 years old kind of humor, to where
Ugh.
there's nothing in there for the adults necessarily to be entertained as well. It doesn't look like a one of those smarter type of animated films. It just looks very surface level, and what you see is what you get. There's no sort of operating on a deeper sub level that you have to think about and requires any kind of discussion and layers. It just looks like it's straightforward, and they've got some silly gags and props and humor jokes and poop jokes probably, and that's pretty much what you're going to get. So that obviously is going to appeal to a certain demographic and not to another. And I guess maybe with the lack of animated films right now at the theater, then maybe that's where they were able to hit their goal, and strike where it was hot, because there's not anything really kid friendly of animated right now in the theater. So I mean, I guess that maybe is what did it, or it could just be, I don't know. Maybe everybody's seen Beauty and the Beast 2 or 3 times, and maybe their kids aren't old enough to see Power Rangers necessarily, and they decided, let's take them to go see this. So we'll see what it looks like when it drops, or if it drops off huge next week. We'll see.
Right. All right. Well, with that, it is time to wrap things up. As always, we'd love to hear back from you. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com if you have any questions or comments for us. You can find these episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/flickereffect. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and the iHeartRadio app by simply searching for Flicker Effect. That's 2 words. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening.